I'm your host, Davida Shinsky, and you're listening to Live Without Limits, the Dreams Come True with the Right Mindset. Today's presentation is titled How to Regain Momentum After Setbacks or Failures. Failure is a part of life. Failure is how you learn. That's why whenever you set a goal and you are working towards that goal, if at first or second time you don't succeed and you fail, don't look at it as a reason to just stop. Look at it as a reason to turn around and keep trying because eventually you will find the right formula and eventually you will succeed. It's quite common to experience a setback or failure at times in life, no matter how intelligent or experienced you are. Things don't always go as planned, and that's all right. The attitude that you adopt during or after these times can determine the kind of life that you live. Part of life is involved with facing challenges. What do you normally do when challenges or setbacks come knocking on your door? Do you spiral downward into sadness or depression? Do you get angry or frustrated and carry around negative emotions? Have you given up on your wishes and dreams because of setbacks or failures? Whether you experience something that sets you back or what you perceive is a complete failure, you can adopt the perspective that these are opportunities to learn and grow. They are opportunities to resist beating yourself up. Apply positive thinking and find out what you're really made of. The difference between highly successful people and unsuccessful people is that those that feel successful choose to learn from setbacks or failures. In fact, they tend to learn valuable lessons about themselves and life in general. They also tend to adopt a more positive perspective throughout their journey. It may not always be easy, but it is possible. Make positive thinking a habit. Begin thinking about what you will do the next time that you face a setback or a failure. You see, a failure may not really be a failure. Some people don't label anything a failure as they view everything as an opportunity to learn. Just because you didn't accomplish what you set out to do or the project didn't go as planned does not mean that you failed. It simply means that you tried, learned some things along the way that you didn't get the desired effect. Did you know that Thomas Edison tried to make the light bulb thousands of times? Some would say he failed every time that the bulb didn't light up, but he didn't look at it as a failure. He looked at it as a learning experience and was determined to just keep trying. As you know, he did succeed after many tries. He didn't keep a negative attitude or think, oh no, I'll never be able to get this thing to work. Rather, he engaged in positive thinking and said, oh yes, I will get this thing to work. Think of a toddler that's learning how to walk. They stumble and fall down plenty of times, but that doesn't make them a failure. As adults, we encourage them to get up and keep trying. We say, come on, keep trying. It's all right. You got this. They begin to understand that stumbling and falling are part of the process to master the skill of walking. We can view our life endeavors the same way. Positive thinking can help, and we can make it a habit, really good at it, and get in your heart that no matter what you encounter, you will enjoy a positive attitude. Even if you stumble or fall, you'll just get up and keep going, learning lessons along the way. Persistence pays off. I know a woman who had the dream of publishing a book. She began freelance writing and did that for a few years while learning about the publishing industry. When she sent out her book proposal to numerous agents, she began receiving rejection letter after rejection letter. She could have looked at this as a failure. After all, rejection can be tough to swallow. However, she didn't give up and she didn't look at the rejections as failures. She decided before she even sent that first proposal out that she would engage in positive thinking no matter what happened. She held firm that she would find an agent to give her book a chance, even if it looked and took 1,000 proposals. Guess what? 1 year later, she got her break. After 86 rejections, her persistence paid off, gaining momentum after a setback. Working toward a goal may not go as planned. Accept that upfront. At the same time, dedicate yourself to getting up after a setback and get that momentum going again. Learn from the experience. If you can't figure out what went wrong, perhaps you can reach out to a mentor or a coach to help you get some fresh insight. Sometimes we can't quite see what happened or what lessons we can learn from the experience. You may think that you're headed one way, but a setback could give you an idea to change course and head it another way. That's all right too. You may be enjoying swift success and then experience a dry spell. That's all right also. Your attitude and perspective are what can help you navigate through any setback or slow time. Adopting an optimistic perspective is quite helpful. Also, you can regain momentum after setbacks by changing your perspective and persisting in your endeavors. If you run into some challenges along the way, gain some clarity. Know that there are plenty of people that would be willing to help you get to a clear mind. You don't have to navigate life alone. In fact, as humans, we're wired for connection. So don't be afraid to reach out for help if you need it. And remember that you can experience joy along the journey also. When we go and we get so focused on the end goals, we can get in striving mode. We can get up and fly through the days carrying huge amounts of stress, tying and trying out our happiness level to the end goal. And remember, try to enjoy the journey. Take some time to unwind, rest, and play. you can keep momentum moving forward in all your endeavors and learn to enjoy the whole process and journey. That's a wonderful goal. So, no matter what, go for what kind of life journey that you want to have. And the last thing that I'm going to talk about with this is that because I grew up with a disability and because cerebral palsy affects how the brain processes information, my teachers always wrote on my report cards that I daydream. And a lot of what it is that I have a short attention span and I absorb what's being heard, what's being said, and I hear it, but it doesn't get from short term memory into long term memory. And therefore, my grades didn't always show what I was truly capable of. And then at home, it was a very, very negative environment. And I had a mother that was constantly telling me how I was going to fail, and a father that was physically abusing me simply because I tried to do something. And because whenever there was an argument in the home, because I wore the brace, oh, it just had to be my fault because my little sister just wouldn't do anything and my older sister just couldn't hear. So I got the brunt of it, and all of that was to break my spirit, to make me to a point where I would be so dependent on them that I would never leave the home. The problem is that my personality is so outgoing that for me, whenever someone told me I couldn't do something or I struggled to succeed, I just took it as more of a challenge to prove them wrong. And the last thing that I'm going to say is that we all have certain behavior patterns that we follow. And if you look at the disc, you've got the D, the I, the S, and the C. And the D is the dominant behavior pattern that feels they can control everything. The I behavior pattern is someone who has very good interpersonal skills and can talk to strangers easily. I those two behavior patterns are very high within me. That's why I was able to overcome a lot of things. But then you've got the steadiness behavior pattern, which is someone who reads the manual and they literally follow the manual, and they're the peacekeeper in the family. And then you have the sincere, the conscientious behavior pattern, and that's someone who literally is kind of very preppy. They also question everything. And if you think about it, we have all these behavior patterns within us, but some are above the midline and others are below the midline. And those that are below the midline are our weaknesses. And this is why I was able to get away from the family, whereas my older sister, who's deaf, has that her S or her. She was always the mediator in the family that she didn't want to see any arguments going on, and tried to mediate things. And she's the one that was held back because she wasn't pushed or encouraged to go out and have a life on her own. And when you look at those behavior patterns and how they fit into how you accept failure or how you look at overcoming things, just understand you have to be able to change your behavior patterns along the way to adapt so that you can succeed.